Listening, fill in the blanks.
Let's start.
These protective measures appeared to have been effective, as the country did not record any cases of plague during that year and in the next 3 decades. It was not until 1692 that another plague outbreak was recorded in the Russian province of Astrakhan. This epidemic continued for 5 months and killed 10,383 people, or about 65% of the city's population. By the end of the 17th century, preventative measures had been widely introduced in Russia, including the isolation of persons ill with plague, the imposition of quarantines, and the distribution of explanatory public health notices about plague outbreaks.
Once a community realizes that its language is in danger, it can start to introduce measures which can genuinely revitalize. The community itself must want to save its language. The culture of which it is a part must need to have a respect for minority languages. There needs to be funding to support courses, materials, and teachers. And there need to be linguists to get on with the basic task of putting the language down on paper. That's the bottom line. Getting the language documented, recorded, analyzed, written down. People must be able to read and write if they, and their language are to have a future in an increasingly computer-literate civilization.
These are organizations which provide children under 5 with a domestic setting in which they are intensively exposed to the language. The staff are all Maori speakers from the local community. The hope is that the children will keep their Maori skills alive after leaving the nests, and that as they grow older they will, in turn, become role models to a new generation of young children. There are cases like this all over the world. And when the reviving language is associated with a degree of political autonomy, the growth can be especially striking, as shown by Faroese, spoken in the Faroe Islands after the islanders received a measure of autonomy from Denmark.
Snowmakers often talk about dry snow and wet snow. Dry snow has a relatively low amount of water, so it is very light and powdery. This type of snow is excellent for skiing because skis glide over it easily without getting stuck in wet slush. One of the advantages of using a snowmaker is that this powdery snow can be produced to give the ski slopes a level surface. However, on slopes which receive heavy use, resort owners also use denser, wet snow underneath the dry snow. Many resorts build up the snow depth this way once or twice a year, and then regularly coat the trails with a layer of dry snow throughout the winter.
A layer of snow keeps a lot of the Earth's heat from escaping into the atmosphere, so farmers often use man-made snow to provide insulation for winter crops. Snowmaking machines have played a big part in many movie productions. Movie producers often take several months to shoot scenes that cover just a few days. If the movie takes place in a snowy setting, the set decorators have to get the right amount of snow for each day of shooting, either by adding man-made snow or melting natural snow. And another important application of man-made snow is its use in the tests that aircraft must undergo in order to ensure that they can function safely in extreme conditions. Thus, the most disturbing environmental influence on organizations of this time was the demand for products, which outstripped supply. The saying attributed to Henry Ford that, "You can have any color of car so long as it is black," gives a flavor of the supply-led state of the market. Apart from any technical difficulties of producing different colors of car, Ford did not have to worry about customers' color preferences. He could sell all that he made. Organizations of this period can be regarded as task-oriented, with effort being put into increasing production through more effective and efficient production processes.
The glucose running around in the bloodstream now has to get out of the blood and into the body tissues. This is where insulin enters the story. Insulin is a hormone made by the pancreas, a gland sitting just below the stomach. Insulin opens the doors that let glucose go from the blood to the body cells where energy is made. This process is called glucose metabolism. In diabetes, the pancreas either cannot make insulin or the insulin it does make is not enough and cannot work properly. Without insulin doing its job, the glucose channels are shut. Glucose builds up in the blood leading to high blood glucose levels, which causes the health problems linked to diabetes.
There is considerable debate over how we should react if we detect a signal from an alien civilization. Everybody agrees that we should not reply immediately. Quite apart from the impracticality of sending a reply over such large distances at short notice, it raises a host of ethical questions that would have to be addressed by the global community before any reply could be sent. Would the human race face the culture shock if faced with a superior and much older civilization? Luckily, there is no urgency about this. The stars being searched are hundreds of light years away, so it takes hundreds of years for their signal to reach us, and a further few hundred years for our reply to reach them.
If you go back far enough, everything lived in the sea. At various points in evolutionary history, enterprising individuals within many different animal groups moved out onto the land, sometimes even to the most parched deserts, taking their own private seawater with them in blood and cellular fluids. In addition to the reptiles, birds, mammals, and insects which we see all around us, other groups that have succeeded out of water include scorpions, snails, crustaceans such as woodlice and land crabs, millipedes and centipedes, spiders, and various worms. And we mustn't forget the plants, without whose prior invasion of the land none of the other migrations could have happened.
Japan has a significantly better record in terms of average mathematical attainment than England and Wales. Large sample international comparisons of pupils' attainments since the 1960s have established that not only did Japanese pupils at age 13 have better scores of average attainment, but there was also a larger proportion of low attainers in England, where, incidentally, the variation in attainment scores was much greater. The percentage of gross national product spent on education is reasonably similar in the two countries. So how is this higher and more consistent attainment in maths achieved?
Like, share, subscribe the channel and press the bell icon for further updates.